Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Tuesday, February 16th, 2021, and you know what that means. It's time to get nerdy, y'all. Welcome to episode number 177 of Two Nerds in a Pod, the nerdiest video game podcast in the galaxy. I am Lam, also known as Mr. Nice Guy, and I'm joined by the suave, the sophisticated, my partner in gaming commentary, the miggity Mac, also known as Maction. Mac, what's up, buddy?
Not much. 177 episodes, man. That's intense. And you know what? Every
What?
single time I almost fail to catch something like this time, almost failed to start Audacity, start recording on my end. See, it's a everyday occurrence. It's great, but it's good to be here. I'm doing well. Like many people in the United States, there have been some power things lately for me. How are you doing over there in Chicago?
You know what? I'm doing really, really good. I've reached the point where I'm like, should I even shovel every day, or should I just shovel like every third day?
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like that philosophy when you were a kid. Like, do I need to shower every day because I'm just gonna get dirty again? You know what I mean? Or should I just shower like once a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with this snow. Is like if I shovel every day, I'm just gonna have to shovel tomorrow. So that's where we're at in Chicago. To answer your question.
Yeah. We had a little bit of a thing, if you don't mind me going on.
I want to hear all about it.
Earlier today, I felt like a genuine MacGyver type,
Oh, nice.
There I was. We had the power go out. The power came back on. And while I was at work, I come back and the house is cold. But of course, there's such a difference between the negative 20 Fahrenheit it was outside and the 50 degrees inside that I didn't even notice for the first, 15, 20 minutes. And then I realized, oh no, it's not coming on. I try a couple of things and eventually I can't really figure out where the problem is. So I bust out the old multimeter, Mr. Nice Guy, and I start probing. I start probing the wires. I start probing the switches and the sensors and everything and being like, gosh darn, I don't know where on earth this is. And then I find the second relay switch up on top, kind of hidden around, and that switch has a little reset button on it. So I did the tried and true, the thing that every diagnostician encourages you to do. Hit that reset button. Try turning it off and on again, and why, yes, it kicked right back on. So
That's how you do it, boys and girls. That is how you do it. Who needs the power company?
A mere few hours trying to fiddle around with the thing, and as it turns out, that turning it off and on again, in the sense of hitting that reset button. But it was a bit more complicated because it was a reset button on a specific relay that had to be hit. But nonetheless,
it's just like on PCs, dude. Sometimes that's what you just turn it off, turn it back on, and it fixes everything. Like that's just how it works. It's like blowing in an old Nintendo cartridge. Sometimes that's all it takes. It makes no sense, but it works sometimes, right? You didn't do that as a kid, did you? Did you have a Nintendo growing up?
I did have an NES, but no,
I wasn't sure if you were NES or Sega. I couldn't remember.
The NES preceded the Sega, but I did have an NES, and I did have a Sega later on. So,
nice.
But
well, Mac, I'm out of it today, dude. My office is an absolute mess. I've had to do like some Zoom stuff with people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I took down some of my Marvel stuff, and so it's not back up because I didn't want them to see like, oh, this guy's into Spider-Man, like, you know what I mean, when I'm trying to do professional stuff. And then also I'm wearing like a super old T-shirt that's probably like 12 years old. I usually try to wear something that's not ripped and torn and out of style for the pod because we're both very stylish gentlemen. We're both very dapper. And today I just said, you know what? I wore this around the house today. The people get to see this old Echo rhinoceros shirt that was cool like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to roll with it, chat. We're just going to roll with it. Mac, on that note, I say we do what we do best and hop right into that gaming news, man. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Shout out to Rerect, who is here watching with no power. I got to give a shout out to that before we get started. Because you know what? When there's no power, a lot of people try to conserve their tablet. They try to conserve their phone. Rereg said, you know what? I'm not conserving anything. I'm going to kick it with two nerds in a pod. And now let's get into that gaming news, Mac. You cool with that, buddy?
I am, although I desperately want to try singing some Power Line now that I know he has no power. I wouldn't do it justice anyway. Carry on. Let's do this gaming news.
Let's do it. Let's jump into probably the biggest story of the week from GameSpot.com, written by Chris Pereira. It says the next Nintendo Direct will be broadcast on Wednesday, February 17th. According to Nintendo, the stream will reveal news about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and upcoming Nintendo Switch games. Unlike the shorter mini directs we've seen over the past year, this is a proper Nintendo Direct, a mega broadcast that will be around 50 minutes long, according to Nintendo. Yes, 50 minutes long. It is the first such event from Nintendo since September 2019, so you won't want to miss it. It says Nintendo did not provide any further details about what to expect, only saying that it would feature information focused on available games, like what we said before, and blah, 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 blah. Tomorrow is the day we're going to see this, Mac. And I wish Alex Man was here because he's huge into NES, or rather into Nintendo. But Mac, we're coming up on like the 35th anniversary of Zelda, I believe. And there's a chance we're going to get some remakes. There's a chance we're going to get some new games. What do you think we're getting? Just like give me a guess. What do you think?
There's a chance for anything. I think we've heard the most rumors about, of course, Nintendo, a famously tight-lipped company. A few episodes ago, we actually talked about how Nintendo, displeased with Netflix leaking the, progress on a live-action Zelda show,
Many years ago, yeah.
They wound up cutting ties, and that never came to be. And they cut ties also on a Star Fox claymation that they were contemplating with Netflix back in the day. So Nintendo likes to play things close to the vest. But we have heard lots of rumors about Breath of the Wild 2 lately. And I feel like if there's anything that we were going to hear about in this Nintendo Direct that's coming up to coincide with 35 years of Zelda, then I feel like Breath of the Wild 2 is likely on the table for that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's been, let's see, 2017 when the Nintendo Switch came out. That's when we got Breath of the Wild. 4 years later, not completely unfeasible for us to get another Zelda, and it could come out Christmas 2021. I don't think that that's out of the realm of possibility. I do think that Nintendo will probably do more than just one thing, though. I don't think they're going to do just a Breath of the Wild 2. I think that they could remaster or remake an old Zelda. Now, I was talking about my with my Twitch chat about this the other day, and people were wanting to see Ocarina again, just so they can play it on the Switch in HD graphics. Some people think that we're going to get Wind Waker. I'll tell you what I would like to get, Mac. I would like to get something in A Link to the Past. Now, we just got, I'm sorry, not A Link to the Past style, Link Awakening. We just got a Link Awakening remake, but I want another Zelda in that style, but not that same one. Right? That's just my favorite style of Zelda. I really like it a lot more than the open world. I like it more than the side scrolling. So we'll have to wait and see.
Well,
what are people saying in the chat? Go ahead, Mac.
Link's Awakening. So if I remember Link's Awakening right, that was on the Game Boy, right?
Originally, yep.
Yeah,
and then they remade it for the Switch.
Yeah. So I think if you like that style, they could use the same engine but do something like Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, which is the same general type of style, and I think you would enjoy those as well.
Yeah, and they were criminally underplayed too. Like, they just didn't get as much hype as the other Zeldas did. So we'll have to wait and see. Ben is a big Nintendo guy in the chat. Says, I think we'll see a new Smash character for sure, but I have no idea what else to hope for because it's not been more than a year. Yeah, I think we'll definitely get new Smash characters. That to me seems like a no-brainer. Hopefully we get some other cool stuff. Maybe we even get more info on Metroid, since that's something that was announced previously, but we haven't heard a lot about lately. Anyway, let's move on to our next news story. This is on PCGamer.com by Andy Chalk. It's about Amazon, Mac. One of everyone's favorite company to hate. Big corporate conglomerate. Amazon's fantasy MMO New World has been delayed twice previously. First in May 2020, when the COVID pandemic pushed it into August, and from the August 25th to the less concrete spring of 2021. Today, Amazon announced that's not going to happen either. But the good news is that there's a new specific launch date. A closed beta test will go underway July 20th, and a full release will, barring further delays, happen August 31st. Quote, we've been working hard on compelling endgame features we believe are important to include at launch. These features won't be ready for the springtime frame that we had originally communicated, Amazon explained in a blog post. With the extra time, we'll be able to add these substantial improvements while polishing and fine-tuning the whole game before we open Aeternum's shores to the world. So, Mac, I want to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon has all the money, right? They have all the money.
Yeah.
Right? They have all the resources. I believe that they probably have the talent. They tried to make a game previously. It did not do well, and it ended up getting shut down. Do you think that maybe they're just picking genres that are too ambitious, or do you think they should just stay out of games completely? Because MMO for like your second game, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Well, to be fair, Amazon already has all of the web services, AWS, Amazon Web Services. They already have basically that under their belt. If there was ever a company that already had the back-end infrastructure to handle an MMO, it would be Amazon. As a matter of fact, most of the things that we see, most of the games that we see, they're contracting their websites, their servers, and everything through AWS. So, and I forget the other names of the big players in web services, but Amazon's one of the largest. So, I mean, I feel like them doing an MMO, yeah, there's lots of content that needs to be there for an MMO, but they already have so much of the back-end framework experience offering the services behind the scenes for MMOs in the first place that, I mean, as long as they can get the content there and they certainly have enough money to hire the talent in order to do it, then yeah, Amazon probably has what it takes. But then again, like you were saying, I mean, their last couple of offerings were not exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's hard to make an MMO. Let me not even say MMO. It's hard to make a game that makes people want to come back over and over and over again. It's harder to make an MMO that makes people want to come back over and over and over again. I don't know enough about this to know if it's going to be free to play or if it's going to be subscription. But if it's going to be subscription, it absolutely needs to be compelling from the get-go.
mm-hmm.
And it needs to be polished. It needs to be perfection. It needs to have a good system for setting up clans. It needs to have a good communication system. Like, it needs to run smooth as butter. Otherwise, why wouldn't people just play World of Warcraft or Destiny 2, right? So we'll see what Amazon can pull off here. Meg, let's talk about something a little more laid back for our next news story. Welcome, Alex, man. Good to see you in the chat. This is on GameSpot.com, and it's about these McDonald's Happy Meals, these Pokemon Happy Meals that are out now. Yeah.
And I stopped by McDonald's a couple of days ago, and yeah, I saw that there were Pokemon Happy Meals, and I really wanted to get one. I was hoping for you know, maybe some of those trading cards, because it'd just be, I mean, I haven't played the Pokemon trading card game in ages, but that just was kind of, you know, nostalgic for me.
Nostalgia. Yeah. We don't even need to read the article, but shout out to Steve Watts who wrote the article. Many of us know that McDonald's is doing these, and they are giving out trading cards.
Mm-hmm.
Mac, first and foremost, I like McDonald's. Do you like McDonald's? Like, everyone hates on McDonald's and says, oh, it's not real food. I like McDonald's. Like, it's a guilty pleasure for me. The fact that I could get some of my guilty pleasure food and get something from my childhood, to me, is very compelling. Would you agree with
We're
that?
sharing the same brain in this moment, Mr. Nice Guy. I would gladly walk into any McDonald's and order a number one, that's a Big Mac, with no cheese, because that orange plastic is not cheese. It's a health hazard.
That's blasphemous, because the cheese is part of what makes those burgers so good.
Nonsense. Try it without the cheese, and you will enjoy it just as much, if not more. I guarantee it.
Would you? Well, let me ask you this: would you ever consider getting the cheese on the side?
Why? It's a health hazard, and it tastes.
It's
horrible.
not, because it's one of those things where it's like you paid for the cheese. I don't know. Roll the cheese into a ball, play with it, make use of it somehow because you paid for it, and then throw it away. Don't just not get the cheese. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll just
You
let
for
them
it.
save the cheese for
paid
the
for
next
it.
poor
I mean,
sap down the line.
I'm being ridiculous right
Yeah.
now, but I like the cheese is what I'm trying to say. in a roundabout way.
Oh man, that's such a shame. You know, I mean, seriously, the fact that we call that orange stuff American cheese should make every American disappointed. Let's rename pepper jack cheese as American cheese so that we can take pride in something that's actually cheese. Anyway, I know this is something we're not going to agree on, but let's get back to what we do agree on, which is McDonald's, Happy Meals, Pokemon trading cards. I love it. I was thrilled.
I literally might make a trip to McDonald's tomorrow just to say
Yes.
that I got one of these. And
Yes.
just to get the trading card, like maybe I'll even just get each of my kids a Happy Meal tomorrow,
Yeah.
and just be like, listen, you guys can get Happy Meals today, but you do not get to keep the toy.
So
Dad gets the toy.
so was it this is one of those problems as a nice callback. It's hard to be an adult when you're nerdier than your own children.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want those Pokemon cards. I want those cards.
I already
Enjoy the
bought
burgers. I
it.
already bought it. Enjoy the burgers. Enjoy the fries. Give me those toys.
Yes. So, you know, I do have to ask, does anybody remember the Pokeballs with the gold cards in them, and the Pokeballs actually would, you know, you'd press the button, they'd open up, they actuated. Was that McDonald's or was that Burger King back in the day?
I'm pretty sure it was probably McDonald's, but let us know, Chad, if we're wrong about that. I
Yeah.
can't see Burger King doing something like that.
I mean, I don't know. Everybody was all about Pokemon. It was Poke Fever back in the day.
Dude, so here's the thing, and we're just going to end on this because this is such an interesting topic to me. As far as news stories, we're going to end on this. You came out here, we ate, I remember I barbecued.
Yeah.
I think it was good. I think we ate Portillo's. Did we eat Portillo's while you were out here?
We did have Portillo's.
And I think we ate a lot of good food, and I think we also had deep dish. Like when
Yeah.
you were out here for several days.
Yeah, you
And like
gave
now
me
that
the whole Chicago treatment, man.
yes, but now that I look back on it, like why didn't we just go to McDonald's? Like I love McDonald's, and I'm not saying we
Uh-huh.
shouldn't have done all those things we did, but like it's kind of like we should have just Big Macs. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
especially if you're ever out here again and they have dope toys, like maybe we get Happy Meals instead of Portillo's.
I am absolutely game.
It's blasphemous because Portillo's is amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't hate McDonald's. I love McDonald's. Someone in the chat just said they refuse to eat McDonald's, and that's blasphemous.
No, that's totally fine. Now, I will thanks to Mets Girl and Spennis for confirming that it was Burger King that had those Pokeballs with the gold cards inside. That it was around the time of the first movie, Pokemon, the first movie. Oh, Mets Girl, hats off. You worked at McDonald's, and you have every right to never want to eat there again.
Well, we're going to wrap up the news, but I want everyone to know that Valve and Netflix are making a Dota anime. That is pretty big news. If you like to play Dota, check that out. We're not going to get into discussion due to lack of time. The other thing I was going to share is that there is a new Xbox wireless headset that has been announced compatible with Microsoft products, and I believe it like connects to your Xbox Series X and S automatically. And has some cool features specific to that platform. So if you're into that kind of thing, check that out.
Real quick, I do have to ask, compatible with air quotes Microsoft products, does that mean PC as well?
PC, correct. Yeah, it's also
Nice.
compatible with PC. I believe, and I don't know this, but it's implied that it would probably not work with PlayStation 5. I don't know that. Or maybe just not work as smoothly. Who knows? I'll have to look into it more. But that has been our news for the week.
All right, well, now that we've taken a look at what's going on right now around us, let's take a little look into the past and appreciate how we got where we are with some video game history. Now, I'm going to start with something that's most recent on my list, but also definitely not video game specific. But I do think it is worth mentioning. It was yesterday, back in 2005, that the first video was posted to YouTube. A trip to the San Diego Zoo. YouTube started, and of course, YouTube's become ever so slightly less relevant now in gaming, thanks to...
Wait, what?
Well, thanks to things like Twitch. you've got more options. I feel like I've tend to
Okay,
consume my
fair,
video
fair.
game stuff live rather than pre-recorded.
More options, sure.
Yeah, more options. But I feel like a lot of what a lot of the landscape of video games has been around the social aspect of games, right? We wouldn't have, Among Us came out in 2018. We would not have had the huge resurgence of Among Us if it wasn't for social sharing,
Sure,
via
sure.
YouTube as well as Twitch and others. Anyway, but I think it is fair to say that we do need to give due to 2005, the beginning of real social sharing of video games and how that's changed how we experience, how we find video games, and how we perceive them in general. A lot more, you go check out a video on a video game now instead of reading an article about it, which
Yeah,
is
that's
very much
exactly right.
that's the way we did it. That's the way many of us started and got our start in video games, was those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Anyway, we will move a little bit farther back in time, back to the year 1999, with a little something called Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri being released on PC. Okay, so this is a little bit contentious, Mr. Nice Guy.
Let's hear it. Talk to me, Mac.
But Alpha Centauri could very well be the best game that Sid
Stop
Meier
it.
ever made.
Stop. Oh, okay, got it. I thought you were gonna say the best game ever made.
No, but to be clear, I'm not saying that because I don't think it's a fantastic game, but just because the 4X genre, which that's, let's see, explore, expand, exploit, and there's another one, exterminate, maybe.
All of those words start with the letter E. I just want to point that out. But please continue.
Yeah, but they've got like X's in them. They call them 4X because it's cooler than 4E. I mean,
All right, fair enough.
I don't come up with the naming conventions here. I just abide by them.
Okay,
So,
fair.
where was it? Right, yeah. The 4X quality. But of all of the 4X games, Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri is considered to be among the best. And where it's contentious is that a lot of people are like, oh, Civilization is better. And very often when people say Civilization is better than Alpha Centauri, they tend to say Civilization 2 is better, or Civilization 5 is best. But there's no actual consensus as to which of the Civilization franchise is the best. So if you take everybody who says Civ is the best Sid Meier game, they can't actually nail it down with good, with good majority to which one, leaving a very divided vote. In which case, Alpha Centauri winds up being really high up there. I think if we were to poll everybody and split out the decisions of not just Civilization franchise, because Alpha Centauri's one game, Civilization's 6 games now? And we split it out, we would probably have more people giving Alpha Centauri as being the best Sid Meier game over Civilization, because we would have to have them choose. So anyway, contentious claim. I know there are going to be purists out there that are like, Civ 2, I mean, heavens, I played Civ 2 for ages, but there is something to be said about Alpha Centauri. It's fantastic. And no, do not call the authorities on me. This is just my hot take. So Alpha Centauri, 1999, fantastic, a great game, regularly on people's best of all time lists, when they do like 100. So
okay, fair.
So anyway, moving right along, we will move on to what was released in 1997, quite possibly one of the more influential couch co-op games, Mario Kart 64.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have to tell this little tale There it was. It was a retro night. And at the time we were holding retro night, we held it at my parents' house and had the Nintendo 64 out, 4 people playing Mario Kart 64. And my dad, my dear sweet father, walks into the room, looks at the television for a minute or two, and then walks out shaking his head. He says, "The graphics on these things these days." And now
And this was what year?
2004.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I mean, it was a little bit behind, but still, Mario Kart 64, excellent appeal, love it to pieces, and
Dude, one of my favorite tracks on that game was Peach's Pathway,
okay.
and there was this rumor, like once again, this is like pre-internet, right?
Oh yeah,
There
pre-internet
was
rumors. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. So there was this rumor that if you got a star power and a mushroom, that you could burst into the castle. Because there's a part on that track where you go off a major jump, and then if you go off to the right when you land, you can actually go see the castle. And it's the same castle that's in Mario 64,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there was a rumor that if you got a star and a mushroom, that you could just go use your star and then use your mushroom and bust through.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother and I tried it over and over and over again. Obviously, not real, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's no way to know back then. You just had to try those things.
Well, now, to be fair, right? As I understand it, there's a new speedrunning tactic in Mario Kart 64 that was recently put into play. I haven't looked into it, so I don't know why it's only recently been a thing. But as I understand it, success comes from slamming into the wall. And apparently that does something that resets your position or moves you in such a way that makes it so that you can get your laps in much quicker than otherwise. So, I mean, if it's a case that, like, you slam into the wall and you wind up clipping out of bounds, then maybe those people back in the early internet rumor mill days were onto something, potentially.
Yeah.
So,
dude, I Googled it, and there's a video called Breaking into Peach's Pathway on Mario 64. I'm going to watch it. I'm sure it's not real, but I'll watch it later.
Sweet. Well, there you have it, folks. There you have it. We are confirming internet rumors from the late 90s. And you know what? You didn't even have to go to a message board. You were able to come to a podcast and hear it here first, second, 177th, who knows what. But Spennis is pointing out the track was named Royal Raceway.
Royal Raceway. Thank
There
you,
we
Spennis. Thank you for the correction.
So yeah, but that's what I had today for video game history. Never forget your roots, people. But that's what we have.
Nice. Well, let's move on to our next thing, which is the topic of the week, where we talk about something relevant in gaming and give our opinions on it. Now, this one's awesome. And hey, right on cue, here's our good friend Galvatron in the chat. Last week in the post show, he asked us what we think about the new format for E3
Mm-hmm.
and for gaming conferences, right? Gaming conventions,
Yeah.
of being digital, right? Being over the internet as opposed to in person. And this news story talks about that. This is on GameInformer.com. Who wrote this? By Jason Guisau. It's to summarize, it's Reggie Fils-Aimé. He did an interview, and it says Fils-Aimé talked with Gamertag Radio about his appreciation for E3 and its large impact on the wider community. However, after learning about the ESA's plans for the upcoming E3, meaning E3 2021, he had less enthusiastic words. Quote, "I have to say that what I read doesn't sound all that compelling." Fils-Aimé would go on to state ways that E3 could potentially, there's some typos here, adapt and secure consumer interactivity. Quote, "I think that the platform holders need to find a way to digitally enable their fans, their players, to experience the content, because that's the key bit for E3, right? The ability to be playing The Last of Us Part 3 for the first time, or to play the next Breath of the Wild game for the first time." Maybe he's dropping a hint there, y'all. Who knows? Or to play the next great game coming from the next amalgamation of the Xbox studios. With popular publishers from Ubisoft to Sony setting up their own digital events and reputable icons like Jeff Keighley severing ties with E3 because of disagreements on the annual event's direction, the future of E3 is more in question than it has ever been. So, Mac, basically, Reggie is saying he doesn't like the idea of digital E3. He likes the idea of finding a way to do this in person so that people can experience these games in person for the first time. Now, real quick before I get your thoughts on whether you agree or disagree, for context, we know Reggie was a big deal at Nintendo, right? We know he's still very influential. He's on the board of GameStop right now. So this is someone who is a key figure in the industry. His opinion matters. Mac, what do you think, man? Digital, or do we need to find a way to do this in person somehow?
Well, I reflect on the time that you and I went to E3 together. Great times, wonderful times, times I'd love to have back, but nonetheless, a time in which we did, to some extent, get to play through some games for the first time there on the floor.
Yeah.
Let's see, this is going to date us a little bit, but what did we get to play? We got to play, I want to say, Dishonored.
Oh, yeah, we did.
We did?
Wow. We saw the Splinter Cell at the time, which was Splinter Cell Blacklist.
Yep.
I believe Halo 3 was there, but the line for Halo 3 was like a 3 or 4 hour wait.
Yeah.
Or Halo 4. Halo 4.
Yeah. Halo 4. I think you're right. And there were a bunch of others that we got a chance to play and try out. That's where we tried out Deadlight, which was from Tequila Works, set in Seattle, which I think we both wound up buying on our own independently and, playing and enjoying.
I'm pretty sure there were some Wii U titles that were coming out. There was like that one where you could, it's like a 4-player game where you have flashlights.
Yeah.
And you're trying to find the ghost.
Yep.
There was also, and you may not remember this, there was a really cool Portal game that never came out.
That came out. It made use of the PlayStation's special
move controllers.
The move controllers, yeah. And I remember trying that out, thought it was very fun. Anyway, all that being said, reminiscing aside, one of the things that I remember most fondly, aside from being there with my bestie, was being able to try the games out. And while we did talk in the post-show last week, about how it makes much more financial sense because of all the extra money that goes into having this type of an event in person, one thing that we just can't recapture or have yet been able to recapture is that gameplay thing. And I agree 100% with Reggie. My body is Reggie for demos, for playing these games and seeing what's going on. So I very much feel as though I'm missing out by not having the opportunity.
And I agree with you 100%. But I think even like let's say coronavirus, the vaccine is good.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for a long time, people are going to be skeptical about doing things the way that we used to do them.
Sure.
The idea of there being a 3-hour line where everyone is using the same controller, right? Sure, you can sanitize it in between people, but I just think that things are going to change.
Well,
you know what I mean?
And things definitely will. Like, for example, I used to go to CES every year, and every year after CES, you would get a cold. You would probably get the flu because you were surrounded by travelers from all over the place. You were catching it. I mean, it would just happen. And you get that after most any big convention. You will get sick because you picked it up at the convention. It's just kind of a fact of life being thrown in together with a bunch of people. And yes, things will change. Things would change. There would be hesitancy, as there probably ought to have been from the very get-go. But at the same time, I do think what Reggie's saying does have merit, and I would love to see some way for us to have our cake and eat it too. Wouldn't it be awesome if we could have a method, and it's within their power to do so, to digitally distribute a demo to your console during the period of time. This is the broadcast Satellaview, what I was
Yeah.
talking about. We
Yeah.
go ahead, we have it, you get to play it, you try out the demo during this E3 week, or for the 12 hours following the Nintendo Direct, or what have you. You give it a shot if you want to. You get a preview of what's going on, they put the demos, you get a chance to try it out, and then bam, you get to have that experience. I think it's within our power. It's within the realm of possibility. I would love to see it happening.
Well, the thing I wonder is Reggie speaking from a place of knowledge, or is he speaking from a place of nostalgia? Like, is he saying, hey, listen, guys, I am in the industry. I'm one of the biggest names in the industry. And I know that the best way to do this is for us to be together in a room, in a convention, and for people to experience games this way. Or is he just saying, hey, I've been in the industry for a long time and I'm going to miss it. If we can't do E3 in person, it's not really E3. So is he speaking from the heart or is he speaking from the head? That's my question. And I kind of think that he is speaking from the heart. I'm
Both?
not saying I'm not saying he's just some boomer, right? I respect Reggie and I respect his knowledge and the time he's put in. But I think he's kind of saying, like, back in my day, this is how we did it. And I want it to stay that way.
Well, I
Because
don't.
the reality is, and Galvatron alluded to this in the chat, and you alluded to it too, like, financially, it makes so much more sense for people to just do these things at home,
Mm-hmm.
to not fly out, to not get a hotel, you know what I mean? To not have to rent the convention space and put up a booth, to not have the security issues and now the sanitizing issues that come in a post-COVID world. And so I'm with him. I think E3 is great. I had fun at PAX. I had fun at GameStop Expo with you. I had fun at what's the other one I went to? I didn't go to PAX with you. I went to PAX with some other people. But I miss all those times and I want them to continue, but I just don't think it's feasible.
Yeah, and I think that it's not mutually exclusive. It can be both a nostalgia for what was, as well as a this is the right way to do things, But I think you might be right. It might be more from a nostalgia standpoint. But let me just ask you this, Mr. Nice Guy. You remember Star Wars 1313? And how
Dude,
much
I
it
do.
killed us to hear about it being shelved. We could not possibly have felt so emotionally attached to the success of that game had we not experienced that game in the way we did. And I think there's something incredibly powerful about that. And it's a shame that even with my best efforts, we probably would never be able to experience it the same way, but by that. So, I mean, I weep for the future. I feel for the past. It tugs at my heartstrings. And also, I think it's within our power to get us close,
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick, if I could close on this, Galvatron brings up a really, really valid point. He says letting people in. And when he says people, I think he means the public.
He means plebs,
Um,
clearly.
yeah. Letting people in was a mistake. It should be strictly professional event for industry people and journalists only. And I kind of tend to agree with him. Now, when we went, we got in because of your connections.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, we got
and
in as press. Mm-hmm.
yeah, we did. And so he's right. Like, there has to be something for people to shoot for. The regular public has PAX. They have, they have Comic-Con. There's so many things that they can go to. There should be a press only event where people who are really in the industry get to experience games first, right? And I think that E3 was that thing, and I think that it was, ruined by allowing anyone who had enough money to buy a ticket, it being overcrowded, and the press not really being able to access things. That has been our topic of the week.
All right, well, now we turn to a crowdfunding effort that is trying to get off of the ground. You know this, we call it Kick or Kickstart, and that's because we present a Kickstarter project, we discuss some of the virtues, some of the vices, and then at the end, we say whether or not it should be kicked out of here or whether it should be kickstarted, and this is a segment we encourage you all to participate in. What we are going to be looking at, as I've posted the link in the chat for those of you here with us live, is called Anathema, a stylish first-person shooter roguelike about making friends and making enemies. So
this looks awesome.
let me start by just saying that watching through the video, will give you a certain idea of what you're going for here.
Okay.
They are looking for it's a lone dev, and they are looking for $25,000 to bring this project to life. They've got 29 days left to go, and the minimum buy-in, if you wanted a copy of the game itself, is going to be $10. That's for the limited early backer or early bird reward to get a copy of the game on release, $10. And that has 60 of those left. So so there's some time here. But if you miss out on the early bird, then your minimum buy-in is $15. The game is a roguelike, which immediately endeared me to this because Rogue is a game. Of course, it should be beneath Apple Manor, but that's longer than Rogue. We don't go there. But Rogue is a game, and then there's roguelikes, which are games that are like Rogue. And then there are games that, like this, aren't like Rogue, but they just employ some of the same mechanics, which wind up getting called roguelikes, but really ought to be called roguelike-likes. So, does my heart happy to see that. Anyway, so procedurally generated dungeon. Some of your upgrades basically will persist, but not all of them. There's various stuff going on. We've got retro FPS action, as it's called. You're doing circle strafing for the win as you are shooting in a first-person way. All these things, you have 2D sprites on both the weapons that you're using, the items inside of the environment, giving it a little bit of a Doom sort of feel to things. Yeah. But yet, with some more modern sensibilities to it. Now, I've got to throw out one other thing here, and that is that this game, I like what it's doing, I like how it looks, but I feel like this game is almost identical to a game called Delver that I played probably about 7 years ago. And
okay, tell me about it.
It looks almost identical. The things that you're seeing on your screen as you're looking at this Kickstarter, with the exception that Delver was more medievally themed, so you had a sword, but you also had long-range stuff that worked as well. And from the backgrounds, the aesthetic was very similar, and I loved Delver. Now, as far as I've been able to trace, there's no connection between the dev of Delver and the dev of this game, Anathema. So I don't think there's any connection, and it's entirely possible that that Cassandra here has never actually played Delver. But
this is a solo dev.
Yeah, this is a solo dev. Wow. Team. We've got Cassandra, who's doing the designing, the gameplay, and music. We've got Rose, who's the artist, and then Evan, who's the graphics programmer. My bad, not solo dev. But Evan's worked on Hyperlight Drifter. Has had a couple of things, and Rose
really?
Yeah, and Rose did art for the official Stranger Things games, like those pixel art ones that you saw on your mobile device.
Wow.
So they've got a couple of things here. Now, I like this, and it being like that game Delver that I mentioned is actually a big point in its favor. Nothing to detract. It's actually a good thing, at least for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the game. I like the look of it. $10 or even $15 is not bad as far as a limited, an early buy-in. September of 2022 is the expected release date. So we're looking at, a year and a year and 7 months out before delivery. So yeah, that's even with early access winding up being, oh gosh, I know I read it here somewhere where the early access would kick in. Nope, never mind. I don't know for sure when the early access would kick in, but even with early access, that seems like quite a ways, quite a long time to go before we get ourselves access to the game. Nonetheless, I do like it. Mr. Nice Guy, what are your thoughts?
Man, you know what? So when I see this, my very first thought is the graphics look great. It almost has kind of like a Metroid, or like an Axiom Verge type of
Mm-hmm.
look. And I really like that a lot. Of course, obviously it's 3D and not 2D side scrolling. And the fact that it's 3D, I immediately thought this game has got to be a VR title. And I'm not saying it needs to be VR only, but just looking at it, it looks like it should have the option to be played in VR.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some games that do both. No Man's Sky can be played in VR, or it can just be played on your PC, right? So it's not unheard of. I'm disappointed that this isn't available in VR, but this Mac to me is one of those games that you kickstart not because you can't later get it for a good price, but because you want to ensure that it gets made.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is a game that should be made, and I think this is not too derivative of other roguelites that we have. And I think I have no complaints about this. The price point is on point. The graphics look good, and it looks like it meets all my boxes, checks all my boxes.
There is one box that it does check for me that few games do, and that is that there is going to be a grappling hook inside of the game for terrain traversal. And I love grappling hooks in video games. Love them. I would love Spider-Man if I ever had a PlayStation, which I don't, but I mean, I'm sure I would. But also, I have a rule. You need to show that you can bring everything to the table and put it all together with a playable demo. And we have just such a playable demo available there. First thing, front and center, top of the campaign bit, right underneath the video. Download the playable demo now. And this is the way it should be. This is the way, Mr.
This is the way.
This is the way. And so I have to say, this is the way to kickstart. 100% kickstart from me on this one.
Yeah, and before I vote, I already know what my vote is going to be. But did you get to do the playable demo on this one yet?
No, I haven't yet. Power outages. Ugh.
Oh, that's right. Well, you know what? Like I said, I already said it all. This hits all the boxes for me.
Awesome.
This is a game that needs to be made, and Mac, this is one of those rare ones where I might put my own money on this. I might put $10 down, and once again, I hate putting money down on stuff that's 2 years out, because I have no shortage of stuff to play for the next 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And I will forget about this in the next 2 years unless I get constant updates. So I might put $10 down. Now, just to be clear, if you read through it, it does say September 2022, but they say that it's more likely a Q4 2022 or a Q1 2023. So they're being very, very realistic with their release window, but I still think this should be Kickstarter.
Yep. I agree. And we encourage all of you who are here with us live, let us know what you think, whether it should be kicked out of here and why, or whether it should be kickstarted for all our reasonings and more. And that has been Kick or Kickstart. Good luck, Cassandra. We're hoping the best for you and your team on Anathema.
This is really, really cool. I'm excited to see. Oh, it should be in virtual reality. Maybe eventually. You can only ask so much from the beginning. Well, cool. So now it's time for Nerdflex. Ooh. A segment where you, the viewers, try to stump the hosts. And Mac, we haven't been straight up stumped in a long time. We've been getting 2 out of 3, 3 out of 3 the past few weeks on these trivia questions. Yeah. So anyone who is here live, if you have a video game trivia question that you would like to ask, hit us up with that question here in the chat. The reason that we take them live is so that you know we're not Googling them in advance. So Max, should we start with one from the test bank?
Yeah.
To start things
Let's
off?
get one from the test bank. And those of you who have trivia, we do prefer, if possible, that you put something in multiple choice if you've got them, because more than anything else, Mr. Nice Guy and I, we don't just like dazzling with knowledge, you know, but
Yeah, yeah.
we like working through a problem, and
This is
that's what's
educational
fun.
as well.
So,
Yeah. And Mac, the very first question that comes up from this test bank is one that is hard, but I feel like it's something I don't know the answer to, and I want to know what the answer is.
mm,
So here is the question, Konami question. What was Hideo Kojima's first project as a game developer? What was
oh,
Hideo Kojima's first project as a game developer? Now it says Konami, so that's a hint. Um, I mean, we know he worked Metal Gear, right? Those are all Kojima. And the
yeah,
first Metal Gear was like NES, right?
yeah, yes, it was.
But I feel like it probably wasn't that. I feel like that's too obvious. And I don't even know if the first Metal Gear was made by Konami.
I believe the first Metal Gear was made by Konami, but I don't know if Kojima was a part of that team.
Way
I
back then, yeah.
I would be inclined to say that it was something like, I don't know, that is something like a an arcade game that he was first on, you know, like some Konami arcade game. But dude, I have no idea. And yeah, I too want to know the answer. Although I will say I know that he was on Metal Gear Solid, so I'm going to say Metal Gear Solid.
Let's go with that. That's an easy answer. Now,
Okay.
do I do the side one thing to
Um
flip this over?
yeah.
Okay. I always forget. Okay. Okay, so here's the answer.
Okay.
Penguin Adventure.
Hmm.
I have never heard of that.
Uh
But like that's why this is such a dope question because we
yeah.
just learned something about one of the most iconic developers in
Mhm.
video game history. His first game was called Penguin Adventure. I'm going to Google it because I know nothing about it. Mac, why don't we do Bling's question? Do you want to read that and then we'll do Spennis's
Okay, yeah.
next?
We'll go for Martin Luther Bling asks, what was the USA MSRP? That's I forget what that abbreviation stands for, but that's the price that you paid of the Virtual Boy.
Manufacturer's suggested retail price.
Dude, dropping knowledge bombs. Was it A, $149.99, B, $179.99, C, $199.99, or D, $224.99? Whew, that's a great question.
It is a good question. And I feel like I can't remember the year the Virtual Boy came out, but it was
Mm-hmm.
probably 90s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm inclined to go with one of the cheaper two. Although there was a lot of hardware in the Virtual Boy, like it was bulky.
Mm-hmm.
It so I don't know, man.
So I'm leaning towards C because I feel like the Virtual Boy, it was its own console. It was not making use of other game cartridges. It was not making use of other hardware. It was its own thing. It was a whole separate console, and I feel like $200 is kind of that sweet spot for new consoles in that day and age. Limited release. I feel like C is the right
We
way
gotta
to
we
go on
gotta
this one.
consider inflation though too. Like, but you're probably right. I mean, once again, it was a novelty item,
Yeah,
and there's not a lot of Virtual Boys in the world now, right?
sure.
And,
Yeah.
and had it been like maybe the price point was part of that, maybe it was cost prohibitive.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, also they only ever wound up making, I want to say, 12 to 14 games for the Virtual Boy.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, I think C. C's where I would put it. I feel like D is too high and A is too low, so I think C is the right one. What do you think?
Okay, I'm gonna trust you because I feel like Nintendo really does like to price their stuff in that manner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like just below 200 or just below 300, I feel like is how they used to do. So
Okay.
let's go with C, $199.99.
Give us
And
the
then
answer, Martin
yeah,
Luther Bling.
while we're waiting for that, now Spennis, we appreciate that you came with that Mario Kart question. but we're probably going to go with Galvatron since his is multiple choice. Would you agree, Mac?
The answer is B,
Uh,
$179.99. Well, yep. Let's go with Galvatron's question, and
we're
let's
0 for
hope that we
2.
can. Let's hope that we can save this on the heels of just proclaiming that we aren't getting anything swept. Pride goeth before the fall, of course. So Galvatron asks, which one of these was not a Tony Hawk game? Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, Tony Hawk's Project 8, Tony Hawk American Underground, or Tony Hawk Downhill Jam? Now,
this is tough.
I
but
feel
go
like
ahead.
Downhill Jam sounds like skiing, not skateboarding.
Yeah, and there was a Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5. It was really, really bad.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
I almost wonder if it was actually Tony Hawk 5, though, and if he's just trying to get us caught up with the words. I know there was Tony Hawk Project 8.
And American Underground sounds familiar, but and sounds like a thing. I'm really getting hung up on that Downhill Jam.
I'm
like
getting
that's
hung up
skiing.
on if it was actually Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 or if it was just Tony Hawk 5. I think it was Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5, so I'm going to assume that one exists. Tony Hawk Project 8 definitely exists. Tony Hawk, was it American Underground or American Wasteland?
Ooh.
Because there was Tony Hawk Underground, and it was like people referred to it as Thug 1 and Thug 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know about Tony Hawk American Underground. I feel like it was Tony Hawk. I don't know about that one, about American Underground.
So it looks like we're kind of torn between C and D.
Yeah.
Mr. Nice Guy, we did say a while back that we would stop splitting the baby
Yeah.
on this, and we would be a united front on these multiple choices. So I'm willing to go with you on American Underground.
But I also never heard of one called Downhill Jam. Like, I literally never heard of one called Tony Hawk Downhill Jam.
Yeah, I mean, again, it sounds like it absolutely sounds like a skiing game, not a skateboarding game.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay.
Let's go with Tony Hawk Downhill Jam. Final answer.
Final answer, Downhill Jam is not a Tony Hawk game.
Fingers crossed. Let us know in the chat what the answer is, Galvatron.
That lovely Twitch delay.
That Twitch delay. Do 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 do. We have a fun post show planned, by the way. It's American Underground!
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It was Thug. It was Thug, like I said. Tony Hawk Underground 1 and 2. It was American Wasteland. I don't even need to Google it to know.
Yep.
I was right. It was American Wasteland, right?
Mm-hmm.
I should have gone with my gut.
Yes, you should have. I trusted your gut, and you trusted me. This is you.
I know. I should have ignored you.
Mm-hmm.
American Wasteland was a thing in Thug. See, I knew it. As a black dude who grew up in the suburbs, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
Well, you hate to see it happen, but we are human. Thank you for bringing your questions. These were good, solid questions, ones that met us on, on where areas where we should have gotten it right, and yet, well done to you. Solid gold Cupid doll. And remember, if you want to prove your nerdiness beyond a shadow of a doubt, there are sound tests still out there for you to claim pins or perlers. 2 Nerds in a Pod style, sent to your door for answering and identifying those correctly. But congrats to you guys. You got the job done. So that has been Nerdflex. Now we will move on to our last bit, and it's going to be a short one. Legalese. Law is very important for how we experience video games, now more than ever. And I'm just going to throw out there that in episode 127, we did a deep dive for legalese on the subject of loot boxes, what they are, how they are viewed both domestically and internationally in the legal sphere. And episode 127 is well worth going back to and listening to if you want to get caught up. In episode 144, we mentioned that Apple and Google were both getting sued for loot boxes, aside from some other people, and I mentioned that that we didn't think that this was a song. I believe I said we that can go the distance, and encouraged Disney not to sue us for that clip.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
But with respect to Section 230 of the Communications and Decency Act, it turns out that the judge in this case has agreed, and so the Google side of things, at least in this loot box thing, has been dismissed on those grounds. I expect the Apple side to soon follow, but they have said that yes, you, Google, you have done what would have been necessary to police your platform as is required by Section 230 of the Communications and Decency Act. And as such, even if loot boxes are illegal, or if they turn out to just occupy that legal gray area, that, well, Google's probably going to be off the hook as the platform. As will very much so Apple. Like we said, it wasn't going to go the distance for that, and it turns out that's how it has gone down. We will continue to keep you updated on how these lawsuits about loot boxes and the like go, what their overall legality winds up being, both, like I said, domestically or internationally. But now we have one more piece of the puzzle. The platforms are not going to be held accountable for loot boxes. And, well, anyway, that's just some legalese, and that is our show, everybody. That is our show.
Fantastic. It's actually not our show.
Oh,
because
what?
Before
There's more?
before we go, we like to do one last. Jack, you're live. You already know how it works. You have a job to do. Let us know the cool, nerdy stuff you have been into on all different platforms that I usually list, but I won't today for the sake of time. Mac, do you want to lead us off today? What you've been watching and what you've been playing?
Absolutely. I finished off Cyber Shadow today. Felt very accomplished for
that. I'm jealous. Now, honestly, what'd you think, man? No pressure. I know I gifted it to you, but you're not really like a Ninja Gaiden guy. But what'd you think?
I enjoyed it. I am going back through and trying to get those last couple of achievements, like beating it in under the 3 hours. I don't know if I will be able to beat it on normal mode, getting no power-ups. That might be rough. But I'm certainly going to give it the good old community college try. And yeah, I mean, I liked it, and I was very appreciated that you gifted it to me, and I will certainly be trying to finish it off in the future. So thanks. But I did like it, and yeah, thank you, man. Let's see. What else have I been playing? I've been playing some Chasm. I've also, of course, been playing some TTRPGs. Not as many as I would like, of course. And yeah, that's about it for what I've been playing. And for watching, I've been watching some Stargate SG-1 in preparation for a thing. And I've also been watching, what was it? Dark Crystal, the Amazon one. Watch Dark Crystal right before you go to bed. Sweet dreams every time. So yeah, that's me. How about you?
So I've been watching a little bit more of Lupin. I'm going to type the name of that show in the chat
Lupin,
because I recommended it, and I hope that everyone who likes like heist type of shows like Ocean's 11, Italian Job, that type of stuff, check out my boy Lupin on Netflix. It's such a dope show. So I'm watching that. I've been watching WandaVision, really enjoying WandaVision. And Mac, you know what? I know you were not a TGIF guy. I talk about this every week. The TGIF lineup that they used to have back in the day on Friday nights. My wife and I have been going back and watching those old shows because now they're available to watch. So we did a date night this past week. We grabbed some Portillos, sat in the car, ate the Portillos, watched some Boy Meets World on our iPad. I'm learning lessons from Boy Meets World that I learned when I was a kid, and I'm relearning them, and it's making me a better person. It's making me, a grown 30-something-year-old man, a better person. Boy Meets World, timeless television.
It's all that wisdom
And
from George Feeney.
it's Mr. Feeney, man. And then as far as what I have been playing, what else? So I've been playing Black Ops. I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima, and just like random Switch games. That's pretty much it. Mac, what are the people into in the chat?
Alrighty, I'll start with watching. Mets Girls watching WandaVision, iCarly, Gravity Falls, Doctor Who, Age of Ultron. Now, real quick side note, Mets Girl actually showed up on the Mecha Dragon podcast recently
What?
to discuss WandaVision. So
Is
yeah.
that one out? Is that out yet?
Yeah, the one that she guested on. Yeah, that was that came out on Monday. But I will say that because I haven't watched WandaVision yet, I'm holding off on that because there's going to be spoilers, of course. Let's see. What else? Galvatron's watching tons of NBA, NHL, and Australian Open. Bridgerton, which he thinks is overrated. The Little Things, and apparently not that great. Martin Luther Bling is getting caught up on WandaVision. Apparently the Dark Crystal's super creepy. A.R. Wilson's watching YouTube videos, NBA games, Undisputed, some First Take, and the Colin Cowherd show.
Oh, we love Colin Cowherd up here on Two Nerds in a Pod.
We do. And yeah, so we've got that. That's what people are watching. Thank you for those nerdy recommendations. We need them. What are people playing, Mr. Nice Guy?
Nice. Now, people are playing. Let's start with Mets Girl. She is playing. Ooh, she's playing some good stuff. She's playing Shovel Knight, Mario Kart. Shovel Knight's so good. Like, unbelievably good. Mario Kart, Minecraft, Hades, D&D, and GURPS. I forgot to mention, I'm playing some GURPS as well. Oh, yeah. We had a dope session last week. That was so much
You had
fun.
A good time?
Thursday was killer, dude.
Awesome.
I can't wait to do it again. We're not doing it this week, are we? Next week, right?
Next week. Yeah.
Dang. Okay. Bling has been playing Call of Duty Cold War. I've been playing it with him on my streams. And he's playing an old early access game that he just came back to called Distance. Galvatron. Let's see. That's what he's been watching. Scrolling. Galvatron's playing Fury Unleashed. Finished God of War. It's a great game. And Gears Tactics. And I think that's it, right?
Yeah, that looks about it.
Well, Mac, why don't you take us home, my man?
All right. Well, thanks everyone for being here for episode 177 of Two Nerds in a Pod, the nerdiest gaming podcast in the galaxy. Y'all are great. You're the best viewers on Twitch, the best listeners on podcast platform name here, and we love bringing you this show every week. This show about news, this show about legalese, this show about trivia, and everything in between. You're the best. And be sure to come back every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Mountain, 9 p.m. Central, and 10 p.m. Eastern. That's how time zones work. Keep it nerdy, y'all. Be excellent to each other, and we will see you again soon. Bye.
Deuces.